Hey guys, this is Comic Inno, and today I'm doing a review for Arrow Brotherhood. So let's start talking about this episode. So this episode was directed by the stunt coordinator of the show, which I was really excited to see, just to see some awesome stunts for this episode. And what happens in this episode? We see that Diggle's brother is back. If you saw the promo from last week, you already knew that, so that was already spoiled. But yeah, so he's back, but Diggle takes a different approach to the situation. He's upset with his brother. He doesn't really want to see his brother. He thinks he's different. And you see more of this emotional side to Diggle. And again, takes a different approach than Oliver and Laurel has in the past with their siblings. Laurel obviously wanted Sarah back and Oliver wanted Thea back. And they have a better relationship with their siblings. But after everything Indy has done, Diggle is upset about all this, and really it's the team that pushes Diggle to at least try to save his brother, and they do in the end of the episode, and it still doesn't seem like Andy is Andy. He's a ghost. He's being possessed by, or not possessed, but being manipulated by Damien Darhk. Other story going on, we get to see Oliver still campaigning and trying to figure out his point of view in the world and in Star City, and he's starting to figure it out. He wants to start with the small people, and also he's trying to figure out his idea for Damien Darhk, his plan for that, and he realizes he's going to have to attack him in the light, which is really ironic because Damien Darhk's last name is Dark. And also, it's kind of the opposite of what happened in Arrow last season, which was kind of weaker for the villain, which a lot of people complained about, and I complained about, especially in the finale. But now we're really seeing the reverse. It's Oliver in the light. It's Oliver trying to defeat the villain in a different way, which is really interesting. It's not him joining Hive like he's planned. He's like, I'm going to do the same thing I did last season. But Diggle's like, no, that obviously did not work. I did not like you for that. So let's forget that plan, please. So it was a really good scene between Diggle and Oliver, kind of convincing each other to do the right thing on their part. Diggle with his brother, Oliver with Damien Darhk. Also, we get to see Ray Palmer a little bit in this episode, trying to find his place. I am sure in 2 weeks, when the Legends of Tomorrow crossover starts, Ray will finally find his place. But he's a bit of a filler character here, because, like, oh, we saved him an episode early. So we have to do something with him, but he's not really part of the plot that much. So he still was fun in the episode, though. He wasn't a big focus in the episode, but it's fun to see his sarcasm and his tone of humor, which is different than the Arrow team, but again, a breath of fresh air and fits this season a lot more than it did last season with the Ra's al Ghul season. Lastly, we get to see Thea trying to control her bloodlust, loses it in front of Alex, and is working with Malcolm to try to figure out a way to get rid of the bloodlust. And Malcolm, of course, being the loving father he is, like, there's a pedophile. You should attack him and kill him. At least you're doing something right, in his mind. And Thea just does not want to kill anybody. And the big cliffhanger, or at least the big twist in this episode, was that Damien Darhk comes face to face with Thea and tries to use his powers on her. And it doesn't work on Thea, and actually grounded her bloodlust. She didn't feel it for that time. So she might be the key to defeating Damien Darhk. And we'll see what direction that story goes on. And I will, of course, speculate in this review. What did I think about this episode? I really love this episode, and I want to first start talking about Diggle, because I am not a fan of Diggle-centric episodes. I always say I don't think he holds his own episode, but I was wrong here. He had a centric episode, and it was really well done. I think it's also because it wasn't just Diggle, it was the other characters kind of supporting him and seeing his relationships with the other characters, but it was Diggle-centric, and I really liked how they handled it here. I think, again, they tied it into more of the story going on now, and you really got to see a different side of Diggle, seeing this more emotional side, and like I said, you get to see his different relationships with all the Arrow team. Obviously, Oliver, which has become his brother. And I feel like they're the ones who could call shit on each other. Diggle could say, Oliver, you're totally doing the wrong thing now. And Oliver can do the reverse to Diggle. And that really, truly happened in this episode. Felicity, we didn't really get to see his relationship with Diggle, but we already know it's like they're the original Teen Arrows, so they have a long time relationship. It's just that it wasn't showcased in this episode as much. I really liked how he interacted with Laurel and Thea also. Laurel giving that shoulder literally to cry on at the event, and seeing how much they have grown between season 3 and season 4, and them helping out each other. Just a few episodes ago, Diggle did the same thing for Laurel. So I really like that friendship dynamic, and I hope we get to see more of that. Even though Laurel wasn't a centric character in this episode, the scenes she did have worked really well. Even Thea, there wasn't a big scene between Thea and Diggle, but it was Thea just interjecting and giving her advice to Diggle and saying, you know, I know obviously how it feels to be a sibling, and you should do this, because they have worked together again through or in between season 3 and season 4. So yeah, it was just really cool to kind of see those relationships, and by the end, Diggle not wanting to save his brother, which is really different, and I personally liked a lot, not because I don't want to see Andy, but it's just a different point of view of something we've seen a lot in the show, the theme of family, and is done differently, and you understood why Diggle didn't want to save his brother, and you got that emotion throughout the episode. But again, going back to supporting characters, it was really cool to see that Team Arrow's so close. They're like, well, we want to sacrifice our lives to help you. Even if you don't realize it, we want to help, at least for you to have a chance to see your brother and to figure this whole thing out. So I really liked that. That was a good moment. So let's move on to Thea for the last part of this episode, or last part of this review, because again, those are the two big main characters here. This was such a good Thea episode. For the past couple episodes, Thea hasn't been showcased as much because of Laurel's story, Sarah, all the Legends of Tomorrow stuff. And I think this episode proves that after Legends of Tomorrow crossover, Arrow's going to get really good again. Because they've been focusing so much on Legends of Tomorrow stuff because they have to bring the show in. I feel like they diverged a lot in the show, and they weren't able to focus on certain storylines, and now they are, and it's amazing. So going back to Thea, it's been a couple episodes since she's been a focus, but now she's a main focus here. And I really enjoyed her scenes, because what I like is that it's different from the beginning of season 4, where Thea didn't notice her bloodlust, she didn't even know what it was. And now that it's back, now that she knows it, she really tries to find the inner strength to not go through it. You know, there's two scenes here. One with Andy, Diggle's brother, where she totally could have killed him. Well, there's a couple of scenes with her bloodlust, but also scene 1 where she, or one of the first scenes where she's fighting one of these ghosts and she's ready to kill it, and she looks at her sword, she's like, oh, I shouldn't do this. So she's the one who stopped herself. Usually it's other people stopping her. So it's kind of cool to see that will coming out from her. So I really like that. Going into the Alex and Thea thing, I'm interested to see where it goes. I love that Oliver pretty much spoiled her identity by saying, oh, Speedy, let's go. He's like, what? Who's Speedy? He's like, oh, childhood nickname. Let's go, Thea. There's a tooth. My friend has a dentist appointment. Let's go. So I love that scene. I don't know how Alex has not figured something out, because there's an awesome scene, one of my favorite scenes of the season, where we get to see regular Thea. She's on a date, and she bloodlust, or she had a bloodlust moment on this pervy guy, and she's ready to kill him, and Alex is like, you know, if I didn't interject, you would have killed that guy. And Thea's like, alright, well, I got some stuff to handle, hopefully you could, you know, join the ride, I guess. So I like the idea of Thea trying to find this balanced life. I'm glad they're exploring more of not just Speedy's life, but also Thea Queen's life, and how she's dealing with things that happen in her Speedy life, in her Thea Queen life. You know, small complaint, I kind of wish Alex wasn't so, I wish it was more of an answer with Alex, more of a time for a scene instead of the flashbacks. We could have had a scene with Alex really discussing what just happened. It seemed like he kind of brushed it off, and that kind of upset me, and I hope after the Legends crossover, I don't think it'll be next episode, again, I think it'll be after that, we'll learn more about him and why he's like totally okay with it, and maybe he'll like want to explore this a bit more and try to learn more about Oliver and Thea. Try to learn more about their background, you know, and then maybe learn that they're vigilantes. I don't know, but hopefully that story's going somewhere. I think they did. They could have had one more scene about that. And of course, complaints, flashbacks, I feel like they do take up a lot of time, where that scene with Alex and Thea could have been done if there wasn't so much of the flashbacks. But I do like that the flashbacks are actually tying into what's going on more than the other flashbacks have in previous seasons, especially last season. Now, this flashback has to do with magic and utilizing magic, which brings me into a point of Thea, first of all, trending on social media, which I was very happy about. That has never happened. So anyways, going to the big moment of the episode, which was that Thea, she has a really cool encounter with Damien Dark. And at first I'm like, oh, you know, why is it Thea that's encountering Damien? And you see that his power does not work on her because of the Lazarus pit. Now, at first I was just thinking, all right, she's just going to be the key, you know, he'll try to drain her out and he'll just drain out the bloodlust. That's what's going to happen. She'll be like a diversion. But then after that, there's this conversation with Malcolm where she's like, oh, I think I could utilize this. And for some reason from that scene, I think we're going to get some magic from her, which is really cool. So one of the aspects I've been saying I really want with Team Arrow to kind of diversify Team Arrow is for someone to have powers, honestly. I would really like to see that. Either if it was Laura with the canary cry, hey, Thea as like using some magic, I'm cool with that. Because the reason I'm thinking this is because, of course, Malcolm is called the Magician, and she goes to him. I don't know, I'm just having a feeling that we might see Malcolm become a teacher once again. Except instead of for some martial arts training, it could be for some magic. I don't know. And maybe the effects of the Lazarus Pit has to do with magic a bit more, especially since Constantine came in to bring Sarah's soul. So I'm really curious. I think they could go a really cool magic route with Thea. Now, that's a big speculation again. It could be something totally different. Of course, it's going to be about Thea in the Lazarus Pit and her bloodlust, but that's a really cool way. Because one of my worries for this bloodlust story, I'm like, where are they going with it? How far can they go without making it boring? And they finally really made it interesting again. I was already interested, but this makes it even more interesting. So I really, really enjoyed that scene, and I can't wait to hear your speculations about that. Last thing I want to talk about is the stunts for this episode were really well done because, like I said, the stunt coordinator was directing this episode, and there are some really good scenes, hallway scenes, especially that Thea and Laurel scene where they're fighting all the bad guys and you see shot from shot. Is a lot of no cuts in those shots, so a lot of extended shots, which I really, really like. So I thought the fighting was really well done here, and the diverse type of fighting. We especially got to see Thea fight for a long time, which I feel like we usually don't get to see. She actually used her sword a bit more, which is another thing I've been complaining about. It's like she only uses the sword sometimes, so she, you know, took out the sword a bit more. Even there's the Diggle and Oliver scene where Diggle uses the bow, so there's just a lot more diverse fighting here, which hopefully we could see even more. So this is probably the best stunts I've seen for the season, which of course that's what you want to see when the stunt coordinator is the director for the episode. But overall, this is definitely one of my favorites. I think all the characters, or at least a lot of the characters, were able to shine, either as supporting characters or as main focuses like Thea and Diggle. So a really good episode, and of course I'm really excited for the Legends of Tomorrow crossover, and that will be in 2 weeks. So there won't be a review for Arrow or Flash next week because there are no episodes. But of course I'll be heavily reviewing that Legends of Tomorrow episode because once again I am part of the Legends of Tomorrow podcast, and we will have a big episode discussing about both those episodes on the Legends of Tomorrow podcast, and of course have my reviews right here. So hope you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Don't forget to like my Facebook page. Also, description below there's links from my comic book like Father Like Daughter, and don't forget to like the Facebook page of Like Father Like Daughter. I'll see you guys later. Bye.